Hi there, Steven here from Leadjetty.com. In this video, I want to give you a quick overview of how you can create simple forms. I say simple forms because Leadjetty allows you to create more complex step-by-step forms with all sorts of logic and this sort of thing, but we'll cover that in a later video. For now, I just want to show you how to get started with something basic. And I'm going to define this simple form as something that only has basically one or two steps, which you'll see in just a second. And it's comparable to something you might see on a typical web form, like on a website. You probably have one on your website if you have a website, and or something like a landing page. So a landing page being a simple form essentially on its own standalone page where maybe you're collecting a name and an email and a phone number in exchange for offering some kind of free download or something like that. So I'm going to show you how you can set these things up in Leadjetty. And we're also going to take a look at how you can set up actions so that you can start to automate some of your marketing and follow up within Leadjetty. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So a couple quick things. Right now we're looking at the dashboard, and we're also looking at our staging site, which you can see up here in the URL bar. And I'm just telling you that because any data that you see is just our test data. For future reference, you'll always be able to look here for the foreseeable future on the right side of the screen and find a list of resources. If we move it somewhere, we'll tell you. But for now, we're going to have a list of resources here. And we have probably, 5 or 6 videos that are going to be staples that we're going to put right here. So if you see anything that's changed or we post any updates, be sure to check those out. The video that you're watching right now will probably be one of the first ones in the list once we finish it. With that said, let's go into flows. So flows are forms, and we call them flows because typically you're going to have step-by-step forms that users will flow through. So that kind of makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a new flow. You can again ignore these test flows that we have here. And I'm going to call this simple form demo. And we're going to choose a property, and a property is sort of like, a website or a company or however you want to think about it. On Google Analytics, you will set up properties for your different websites so that you can track and section off data based on which website traffic is flowing through. Similar idea here. So I've got a property set up for Acme Corp. There's another video that we'll post on how to set up a property, so don't worry about that for now. I'm going to skip all the optional stuff, and I'm going to give this a title, simple form demo, and we'll go ahead and create this flow. Okay, so now it's going to prompt us and say create a variant. We're going to do another video on variants. It's going to be a common theme. This product can do quite a bit of things, so we'll skip over a lot, but we'll do another video on how to create variants and what those are. Just for now, just remember that's for split testing, which we're not going to be worried about right now. So, but you always have to have at least one variant. So we'll create one just called A, and now it's going to prompt us to start adding steps to our form. So we can click Add Step, and then we'll have a form with one step and nothing in it. So what we want to do is just start adding some fields. So again, we're keeping it simple. So let's go first name. Let's go add a phone number, and let's add an email. So, you might want to rearrange these things so it's all drag and drop. It's pretty easy. And that's basically it for setting up the actual form fields. So we offer the ability to do a little bit of customization to the form, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But just keep in mind that right now it's fairly limited. We're going to be rolling out more customization options over time. But to change any individual input, what you can do is click it, and then it'll pop up and offer you things like whether it's required or not. For email, there's another option here, so you can say yes, it's required, and we want to make sure that it's only a work email in this case. So we don't want Gmail accounts or whatever. So that's an option. You don't have to turn that on, but that's something you can do. And then let's leave the phone number as not required, maybe. Okay, so we'll save all of that, and then if you want to actually customize the look and feel of this page, again, like it's a little bit limited right now, but you can center things vertically, which we'll see in a second. We can modify the button color however we like, maybe to match our brand. We can change the button text, so like download my free guide or something like that in case you're doing some kind of download. And then if this is actually going to be embedded in a website, you can make it inline or not. And we're working on some new stuff where you'll be able to do things in like multiple columns and kind of grid structures and so on. But right now it's either vertical or horizontal or inline. But we'll leave this as is for now. Okay, so now let's see what this looks like. And it's very basic right now, but we'll take a few steps and customize it a little bit. So the first thing is we need to turn the variant on. And once we turn it on, you'll see this little green light appear. And again, this has to do with split testing, so you can easily copy these, modify them, and so on, and we won't get into that here. So now that that's set up and this is turned on, we can just click on this little arrow pointing out right here. This is going to open up our form in a new tab. And again, this is very simple right now. So it's just literally some form fields and a button with the text and the color that we chose. And if we fill it out, it really won't go anywhere because it has not been programmed to do so yet. So let's customize this just a little bit more. And actually, before we run along any further, I want to point out something. So this is the standalone page. Two things really quick. So right now, this is just living on our leadjetty.com domain. If you want this on your own domain, it's easy to do. You just need to connect a custom domain to your property. And again, there will be a video on how to do that. The other thing I want to point out is you might want to embed this form. So, put this on your website directly. And you can put any other kind of fields that you're interested in. So it doesn't have to just be these. If you want to embed the form, you just come up here to the top to the flows level, and you'll see this little embed code icon. If you click this, it's going to tell you that you can copy this little script tag and put this anywhere in your website. So putting this in your website might require a web developer to help you or something. It depends on how your team is set up, I suppose. And then once you put it in there, you might want to customize the look and feel of it a little bit so that the inputs match your exact website style, something like that. But all in all, it's not that complicated. With that being said, let's just take a look at our simple form one more time and let's customize it a bit more. So let's imagine we're going to use this as a landing page. So for an embedded form, you really just want the fields. You don't want to put extra content because that content is going to come from your website. That kind of makes sense if you think about how your website already has the look and feel and content and structure. You don't necessarily want to add that here. You'll just want the inputs. But let's imagine that you are actually wanting to use this more like a landing page. Maybe you're going to run ads to this page, or you're going to put a button on your website that clicks over to this page or something like that. We're going to want to make this look a bit different. So let's go ahead and try to do that. So first of all, there's a bunch of different types of things you can add and you can customize how you'd like. Let's start by adding an image. And for this image, let's go ahead and bump this up to the top here. And again, a lot of how this looks is going to come down to your kind of creative ability. So this is a WeWork image that I just grabbed off the web. So we'll just put this here. Okay, so let's just keep going with this a little bit more. Let's add another image. I'm going to make this look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this image up here, and we'll add a WeWork logo. Again, this is all just as an example. This isn't real. But we'll set the width to maybe 100 pixels on this logo. And we'll save that. And that looks okay, maybe. Maybe you want to make that 120. And then what we're going to do is add a bit of rich text. So this is something you can add just to kind of fill out the content on the page. So if you have some kind of pitch that you're trying to make or offer you want to present or something like that. So in this case, maybe the offer we're wanting to put in front of people is for them to book a tour. So let's go ahead and kind of just flesh this out a little bit. And again, I won't put too much effort into it because it is a fake page here. Or just an example page. So this is actually 625 West Adams Street. So I'll put that in an H1 maybe. And then something like schedule your tour today. And maybe you could add some instructions on what to do after that or something. And again, I'm not going to worry about it too much. Maybe that's an H4. Maybe that's an H2, and we're going to make it bold. something along those lines. And again, you can customize this text however you like. But let's do one last thing. Let's change this so that it doesn't look atrocious. So I think that WeWork is now using kind of more of like a blue, it's just like a standard blue color for their main website. So let's save that like that. And let's go back and we can open up this here. Let's go ahead and open this in a new tab and we'll see what our page looks like. So again, like this is still very basic, but it starts to look a little bit more like a real page. You could customize the text, you could have, different images, and again, we're going to be working on even more customization. So there's a couple things we still need to do. First of all, we need to add another step, because if we fill this out right now, it just won't go anywhere. We will save the data, but nothing else will happen. So what we might want to do, and again, the entire purpose of Leadjetty is to do something better than what I'm about to show you. But one thing we can do, which will be kind of standard, is just have a thank you page. So maybe we have, thank you, we'll be in touch to help you schedule a time to visit, something like that. And then we'll make this an H2 and bold. And maybe we will center all of it, something like that. Format, align, center. So we can save that. And maybe we also want to add our logo again. So we'll put that back up here. We'll just add the image again. We're going to work on some kind of media library so you don't always have to upload the images you want. But we'll set that at 120. And then we can maybe center this box vertically so that everything kind of sits on the page in the middle. And then let's actually go try this out. So we'll refresh over here and then we'll just run through this. We'll say Steven at leadjetty.com. And then because the phone number field is not required, we can just leave that blank, and then we can click download my free guide. And then you're going to get this WeWork and then thank you will be in touch. Cool. So it's not beautiful, but it's functional. What we need to do, and again, you can put a lot more effort into making this look how you want it to look. What we need to do now is cover one last topic, which is so far this data will show up inside of Leadjetty, but that doesn't really help you that much in terms of automating your marketing. So what we would like to do is actually be able to connect to other systems, which is another thing that Leadjetty was specifically created for. So when somebody fills out this form, we would like to send this data somewhere. And specifically, I've only got a few things connected here, but we can, in this case, I have an email marketing system called ConvertKit hooked up. But it could literally be anything. So you have maybe a CRM system that you want to send leads to or anything like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be what I have listed here. It's just what I've already connected to this testing account. So again, like if you're using HubSpot or something, we can connect you. And we're working on things like Salesforce, and we're going to keep adding things. So be on the lookout for that, but really anything you want. So once we choose an integration, we can click next, and it's going to ask us, in this case, which form we want to send people to, and we can pick anything. So I think I've got a Leadjetty testing form here, so we'll click next. Then we can actually add logic. So you could say, if you had some kind of numerical field or whatever, you could add some logic here and then do something conditionally. We don't need to get into that just yet. We'll cover that more in depth in a later video. But for now, we'll just skip it. And so down here at the bottom now, we'll see this add to ConvertKit form. So anybody who fills this out now will automatically show up in ConvertKit. And for example, in ConvertKit, you can have things like email automations that start kicking off. So the second somebody fills out this form, they get sent an email and then maybe a sequence of emails or whatever. So different systems have different ways of handling that. Like ActiveCampaign may handle that differently, and MailChimp may handle that still differently. So, but anyway, all of that's up to you. We're just sending that data there. The other thing that you can do from a marketing automation perspective, not really automation, but just data handling, is we have these page load events. So suppose that this is a lead event. And what I mean by that is suppose that you're running ads on Facebook to get people to book tours or something like that. Over here, what you might want to do is say, hey, we need to track a lead and they have a value of $15 or something like that. And you can save that here, and then this will just show up and you can see that this will get sent over to Facebook. Now this is dependent upon you having your Facebook pixel ID set up, which I do not at the moment for this particular flow, but it's pretty easy to get going, and it just works. So that's a good thing to do. That pretty much covers how you can set up a very simple form in Leadjetty, and there's a lot more you can do. There's a lot more to talk about, but I want to keep this at a sort of reasonable length video. So what we're going to do is a second part to this where we're going to go much more in depth into how to create more involved sequences or flows so that you can have lots of steps, and show you how to customize different field types and things like that, and potentially even get into a little bit of logic. So with all of that said, I will talk to you over in the next video.